When you believe there is nothing left to lose, a few tears running down the creases of your worn face seem of little consequence. When whatever power and dignity you thought you had has gone with your wife of 20 years, with your children who have moved to the city, with your hope for a crop that is not going to be planted this season, when you've lost all that, what is there to stop a proud farming man shedding a few tears in front of a complete stranger? The Uniting Church's rural chaplain, Kel Hodges, has seen how the prolonged drought has caused such a serious financial crisis that it's ruining families. How it affects people's own physical and mental health. There's intergenerational conflict, marital conflict, a lack of access to services, an increase in workloads and a withdrawal from the community. Financial pressures of drought are forcing families to separate so schooling can continue. Despite recent rainfall, the drought is far from over and the consequences, economic, social and individual, are still very real. Recent rain has finally brought some smiles on people's faces, but practically for most of Eastern Australia there has to be much more to fully replenish the subsoil moisture and, more obviously, the critical need to replenish the dams that provide long-term water supplies. Without follow-up rains, the situation could be even worse. And even if there is more rain, it will take some farms several years to recover financially. Likened to a tsunami, the next day seas may be calm, but the damage is done. The peculiarity of a drought, particularly after it rains, so much of the damage cannot be seen with the eye. Like most people going through the rough times, farming communities have managed with courage and strong resilience in personal lives, partnerships and in the social solidarity of communities, which can maintain cohesion during times of extreme stress. But the drought has brought long-term problems and uncertainty. At times like this, we in the Church are called to support one another, especially in our families and communities, comfort each other and check on our neighbours, help with practical jobs that need to be done, encourage our neighbours to share their expectations and experiences and feelings when it feels right for them to do so. And those of us in the cities must listen. Personally, I have learned much from my visits to places such as Dubbo, Wagga Wagga, Cobar, Tamworth, Cowra and Coonabarabran. I've been listening to rural congregations and individuals and I have been shocked by their stories of hardship. Just this week, the community of Condobolin faced the grim reality of yet another suicide. Psychological poverty, or poverty of the spirit, worsens during times of drought. The ramifications of the farmer's plight is felt in nearly every rural town, in businesses directly and indirectly related, in hundreds and hundreds of households. Government and packages for aid help the speed of any economic recovery and help raise productivity when the drought does break. But the real cost to our farmers cannot only be measured in monetary terms. Our own Uniting Church mental health chaplains point out that the challenges of this disaster are very different to others. Cyclone Tracy, the Granville train disaster, the Nyngan flood, all these disasters took moments, hours or at worst days. But this disaster has taken months and years to unfold. This disaster has been like a cancer, eating away with all sorts of spiritual and psychological repercussions. One farmer has written, "The strain is just so constant and long. It's like someone grabbing at me by the throat and slowly choking me a bit more each day." Reflecting on the present drought and responding in faith will include a range of responses. One of these must be compassion for rural communities bearing the brunt of environmental extremes. I do not know what lies ahead for the farmer in tears and the many others who suffer varying degrees of hardship brought on by this drought. Perhaps there is this power in knowing what is happening to others so that we might be moved through compassion to act on their behalf. In knowing about another's suffering, we are called upon to be generous and caring. I am glad to be launching this drought appeal during our rural ministry conference. I'm only sad I couldn't be with you in person. You, after all, have been facing these issues in very deep and personal ways. Launching this appeal, I plead for the generosity of all people in the Uniting Church. I also ask you to pray with compassion and considerate hearts